Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie vlog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today we've got this bit of news that broke just the other day. We talked about it a little bit on Friday Night Tights over on Nerdrotic's channel. Please make sure you check out Nerdrotic. Awesome channel. Gary's an awesome guy, and we have a lot of fun every single Friday night starting around 5 p.m. Eastern time, and it's been a blast, and I've been loving the new time slot because it means I can stay on for a full 3 hours, sometimes maybe 3.5, and it's just a really good time overall. But the 5 hours that they normally do, a little too much for me. But if you have nothing else to do on a Friday night, 5 hours plus of entertainment is a pretty damn good time. But let's go ahead and talk about this rumor that Boba Fett, that's right, Boba Fett, one of the famed characters who had a very, very short time in the world of Star Wars back in the 1970s and 80s films, is set to making an appearance in The Mandalorian Season 2, and it is going to be played by the same actor that played Jango Fett in the prequels. So this is being brought to us by John F. Trent of Bounty Into Comics. Make sure you check them out. Very great website. It says a new rumor details that Jango Fett actor Temuera Morrison will play Boba Fett in the upcoming Mandalorian Season 2 on Disney+. The rumor comes from The Hollywood Reporter, so definitely a major publication there, who report sources say Morrison will play Boba Fett, the famed bounty hunter who first appeared on the big screen, 1980 Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, and seemingly died in 1983's The Return of the Jedi as he fell into a Sarlacc pit. As for the Boba Fett's role in the season, it's claimed to be a small one. THR reports Boba Fett is expected to play just a small role in Season 2 of this series, which makes a lot of sense. Obviously, if we know anything about Disney Star Wars, it's always about putting main characters or characters from the original trilogy in there, so that way people's eyes are on the screen, because people are going to hear this and say, wait, Boba Fett's coming back for Mandalorian Season 2? I want to see Boba Fett. And then you're just going to get a very small portion of Boba Fett. Kind of reminds me a lot of how the sequel trilogy talked all about how you're going to get Luke Skywalker back, you're going to get Leia back, you're going to get Han Solo back, you're going to get all the characters that you love, C-3PO, R2-D2, all of them, Chewbacca. Every major character who's still alive in the universe is going to come back in a major way. And what happened? They played second fiddle to new characters that sucked and were just not that interesting. Now, luckily, when it comes to a show like The Mandalorian, for the most part, I actually do like Pascal's portrayal of the Mandalorian character. I think it's a really badass outlaw country western type vibe, and I personally am a big fan of Baby Yoda. I think Baby Yoda is freaking adorable. However, I can also agree that the series is mediocre at best, because yes, there's some really strong episodes, there's also some episodes that are really bad, and then there's some episodes that are in between, which I think some would say, but aren't all TV series like that? Not in just one season, and let alone its first season. Normally, really great shows start off very strong, and then maybe have a couple seasons down the road that aren't as good or can't match up to their first season. Great example, I think, of that would be a show like Stranger Things, where I personally have enjoyed every single season, but season 1 still has such a magical property to it because it was brand new, and they really understood the characters, and there was a lot of mystery behind the characters, and now it just seems like they're trying to create new ways. Oh, sorry about that. They're trying to create new ways of bringing in these characters and trying to put them into new situations, and somehow trying to keep the upside down still relevant, even though they always make it appear like it is no longer a factor. But obviously, I think that the series overall has kind of expounded so much that it's interesting still, and it brings us on and keeps us, wanting more of the series. Mandalorian really hasn't done that much yet, I think. And can I argue that it's one of the best things Disney has done with Star Wars? Absolutely. I think that anyone could really make that argument that this is probably some of the best Star Wars that we've gotten, but is it perfect? Is it great? Is it as great as the original trilogy? Is it as great, in my opinion, as especially early seasons of Clone Wars and things like that? I don't quite think so. I don't think it's up to that level. And so I think that this is totally being done as a marketing ploy to try to bring more people onto Disney+, more eyes onto the series of The Mandalorian, which again, I think has a lot of potential, but as long as someone like Kathleen Kennedy is running the reins at Lucasfilm, I just don't think it could ever really match up to that potential, because even though Jon Favreau's done a great job with the series, he's also written most of the episodes, and there's some really bad episodes that have very bad writing that he was listed as the writer on, which makes me think, is he trying to just play ball with Lucasfilm, trying to play ball with Kathleen Kennedy and trying to appease her in some way or another by listening to her ideas or by trying to put certain things in the show that he might not want himself, but because the studio wants it in, he has to, and it's almost like he's forced his hand and therefore has bad writing. We talked about that a little bit last night. Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers made the point saying that he was not a huge fan of the Jungle Book movie that was also done by Favreau, and it seemed that Favreau was basically just listening to the studio and not really creating his own product. We know when Favreau has almost full autonomy, he can make good products. Again, the first Iron Man film is probably still one of the best superhero films that's ever been made, and that was way before Disney took over the MCU, and so therefore he had a little bit more control over it. Could we argue that the studio at the time had some power and some influence? Sure, but when you look back to that film still easily holds up, where some of the newer films, I don't quite think that they can have that same type of holding on power. Boba Fett was heavily teased in The Mandalorian Chapter 5, The Gunslinger. As the episode came to a close, a shot of the body of assassin Fennec Shand, played by Ming-Na Wen, is showing lying in the desert. As the scene continues, an individual arrives on the scene. We don't see who this character is, but we do see their boots and cloak. We also got a sound cue that could possibly hint at the character's identity. YouTuber Script Doctor isolated the sound cue during his Mandalorian Chapter 5 review and compared it to the sound cue from the Star Wars Special Edition. Script Doctor believes this sound cue hints that the unidentified character is actually the bounty hunter Boba Fett. I think that would make sense. Also, too, some argue that it may have been a character that was already established in the universe, just showing up and following the trail. But if it turns out to be Boba Fett, that could be really cool. I just don't like the news that it's going to be a minor role. I don't think it is conducive to the character. I don't think that it's beneficial to the character or to the series to say, okay, we're going to talk up Boba Fett. We're going to say, boom, Boba Fett's coming back. One of the actors from the prequels is coming back to play Boba Fett. It's going to be freaking awesome. And then at the same time, we think to ourselves, yeah, but if it's just going to be a minor role, which is also being reported, then it just reminds me so much of what they already did with the movies, where they brought back certain characters just so they could throw them under the bus or just not utilize them in the way that they wanted to. So even though I'm excited, because I think it's really cool to have Morrison have that opportunity to play that role again, and I think it's cool to bring Boba Fett back into this universe, especially since I think it'll fit very well in with the vibe being set by Favreau with The Mandalorian. I just really don't trust the current people at Lucasfilm, and so I think this is, in my opinion, an opportunity for them to try and make some cash grab opportunities, because Lord knows they're going to try and make as much merchandise off of Boba Fett as they can, even if it's a minor role. We've already seen them do that even with new characters like Captain Phasma. She was supposed to be the big bad, awesome badass, and then totally gets whipped in about 5 minutes of screen time, and just didn't turn out well. I'm kind of unfortunate and sad that it probably will happen again with Boba Fett, that he'll have survived the Sarlacc pit just to come back into the series, show up for a hot second, and either completely disappear or even bite the dust in some form or fashion. What are your thoughts about this? Do you think Boba Fett coming back to The Mandalorian is a good thing? Do you think it's going to bring more eyes onto the screen? Or are you kind of like me, where you say, yeah, it will bring other people's eyes back to the screen and to season 2 of The Mandalorian, but if the news especially goes out that it's a minor role, I think that the more critical members of the fandom, especially Phantom Menace types, will look at this and say, no, we don't want you to once again give us the same thing you've been giving us with the movies by basically giving us table scraps of characters we love just so that you can, take them away from us in an instant and not give us exactly what we've been wanting for a long time, because there's obviously a lot of stories that can be told about Boba Fett, because for those that are not aware, Boba Fett can basically survive the Sarlacc pit in many of the EU stuff that was established. I think it was in the comics and at least in the novels where he survived and the stories went on dealing with his character. So there's already a precedent for his character having survived that Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi. But again, I don't want him coming back just so that he can just bite the dust easily again. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about that and everything we talked about in the comments section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe. It helps out a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now a huge shout out to my May Patreon and Subscribe Star members: Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator Brian P, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Weeder Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunker Chunker Funker Monkey, Inflame Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Kenneth Camiel, Lady T, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, The DJD Show, and Tina B. Thank you all for being my Patreon members, and a shout out to my Subscribe Star peeps: John B, Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Darkstar 57, J. Alex MacArthur Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J. Rod the Beer Guru, Nebadon G. Adams, and ZK Man. And a special shout out to David Bobrizik and Edgardo Martinez. going to leave that pause there just in case anyone decides to join for the month of May, because you can indeed join on Patreon or Subscribestar at any time this month to be eligible for any of the perks. They include access to an exclusive podcast that I do with John, the Flick Pick of John Flickinger's fame, so make sure you go ahead and check that out at the $10 and up level. Also, if you Subscribestar or Patreon at $5 or up, you have access to exclusive giveaways of 4K movies, digital films, and a bunch of other stuff in between as well. And if anything, you could at least give just anything that you really want to help support the channel, and it would really help me out a lot. Keeps the lights on, makes me able to continue to do this kind of stuff. So anything you possibly give, check out some more information in the description of the Patreon, Subscribestar, and of course YouTube membership links as well. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.